So as I think about Proverbs and purpose today, the word that comes up for me is giving. I know that giving is a gift. Some people have the gift and give freely and they don't think about it. In fact, their whole lives are defined by how much they give. The first thing we think about is giving money. So sometimes you give with the expectation of return, like a loan. And sometimes you just give because it's in your heart. But giving isn't just about money. Giving has to do with having this generous spirit in everything that you do. How do you approach life? Do you approach life with your hands out, open, so that it can freely flow from you? Or do you approach life with your fist balled up, trying to hold on to everything that you have? So I want you to notice this posture of openness. So when your hands are wide open and you're giving to others, the things that go out also leave space for things to come back to you. But if you're walking around life balled up, in scarcity mode, holding on to everything that you have, not letting anything out of your grip, being miserly, then you'll also notice you're in a posture to not receive. And when we give, it will be given unto us. Good measure, pressed down, shaken together, will be running over. But the measure that we give, that will be given back onto us. It's not just about money. We're talking about purpose here. It's about everything that we do. How we approach life. Are we generous with the way that we approach people? If someone needs something, do we give of ourselves? Now, I do want to caution here because there might be some mixed messages. I don't want us to be giving of ourselves so much so that we deplete ourselves. That would be antithetical to what we're trying to accomplish with our purpose. We want to give of the excess. We want to give of the overflow. Don't give from the cup, give from the saucer. And I've always said we need to fill ourselves up until we overflow. And that way we have enough to give to someone else. Think about this from the perspective of a bank account. Say you have no money in your bank account and somebody needs something. Because we are generous, we're gonna give. Well, if there's nothing in your bank account because you haven't taken the time to fill your coffers, then if that person's truly in need and you have a generous heart, what you're gonna do is go into a deficit to support that person. And what does that look like when we're talking about a bank account? It means going into the red, going into debt, taking on something that is more than you can handle because you don't have the capacity to do it, and yet you do it. And so many of us do exactly this. We deplete ourselves and someone comes along. Rather than say no, we say yes and we continue to give. And so we want to make sure that we're doing everything to increase our capacity, to fill ourselves up, to make sure that when somebody comes, we're in the state of overflow. So when we give, we're giving from the saucer. We're giving the overflow. We're not necessarily dipping into the cup, which depletes our resources. And that goes for money, it goes for time, it goes for energy, it goes for emotional support, it goes for every aspect of our life because we're giving on so many different levels. As women, I believe generally we are givers. Typically, if we are the nurturing kind, we are going to be out here giving. We give to our parents, we give to our children, we give to our significant others, we give to our friends, we give at our jobs, we just give. And so when we think about giving, we want to make sure before giving starts, filling starts. So let's fill up our cups, make sure that we're studying and making sure we get filled up with the Word of God. Make sure that we are eating well so that we are stronger and our bodies are well equipped. Make sure that we're getting our rest. Make sure that we're exercising. And I will pause here to say I'm speaking to myself. These are things that I have struggled with. I'm an action-oriented person. And at the end of the day, I collapse. So do I take care of myself the way that I need to? Yes, I'm doing that. I'm committing to doing that. Taking care of all aspects of your life, making sure you feel good about yourself and that you are embodying that person that God created. He created us fearfully and wonderfully. And then he left us to our own devices. And then what do we do with it? Do we tear down what God has created, or do we build it up? Do we work on ourselves? And that's what I'm calling us to today, is to really think about two aspects of giving. We want to give generously into the world. God has given us a purpose, and he didn't give us this purpose for us to hoard it. He gave us this purpose so that we would share it with the world. There are people out there who are depending upon you to live into your purpose. But here's the thing. If we are giving without replenishing, if we are giving without building up, there will be nothing left of us to live into our purpose. And we want to make sure that we hear, "Well done, my good and faithful servant," at the end. And in order to do that, we have to make sure that we have the strength, the vitality, the energy to do what God has called us to do. It may sound a little bit selfish to put yourself first. Of course, we don't want to be selfish. We always want to be generous. But to be generous, we first have to be a little selfish. We have to look at those areas of our life where we are in depletion mode. It could be at the end of the day, we're so tired, worn out, stressed out, burdened, because we've been carrying the load. Oftentimes, we're not just carrying our load, we're carrying other people's load. And so that speaks to some of the things that we need to go reflect about and think about. What am I carrying that I don't need to be carrying? And how can I up-level in such a way that when it's time to give, I can give abundantly without really worrying about depleting myself. So it's really essential that we first take care of ourselves as we think about this aspect of giving. The second aspect of giving that I really want to focus on is giving generously of everything that we do. So as we approach our purpose, God has called us to this. He has put it inside of us. We didn't create this. This is something that God has put inside of us. We didn't say that God will do exceedingly abundantly above anything we could ask or imagine. So we already know that he is going to do something amazing with our purpose. And here's the thing. We don't hoard the purpose. We give it away. We give it as much as we possibly can. We give it to whomever we can. And we pray that as we put out what God has given us as a gift, as we put it out into the world, that the people who need it, the people who resonate with it, the people who are desperate for it will receive it. And we trust God for the increase. We don't have to worry about it. Let's just put it out there. And we don't have to worry about what he's given us being exhausted, because he's an infinite God and he will continue to pour into us as we continue to pour out. He didn't give us this gift that we have for us to hoard it. He gave us so that we could give freely and generously. And so what does giving freely and generously look like in your life? It may look different for all of us. It may mean giving away your service to those who need it, because the things you give away, guess what? God has so much more than that. So we think, oh, I can't give this away. I have to put a price tag on something. Yeah, but we don't always have to price everything. There are some things, obviously, that we'll put a price tag on. But we can give freely those things that God has given us, because God has so much more. And he'll give us fresh insight about how to go to the next level. And when we start to charge for our offers, he may take us exponentially someplace else. And let me pause here and say, one of the things that I love about God is that God is not into just addition. He's a mathematician extraordinary. When he starts to do things, he multiplies. Think about the fish and loaves story in the Bible. It said he broke it and he multiplied it, and then he divided it. So the things that you have inside of you, think about how God can exponentially bless somebody. He could take that little thing that we sometimes don't even think has value. He could take that little thing, he could break it, he could bless it, he could multiply it, he could divide it, he could give it to so many people. So I want you to be thinking about your purpose from that perspective of how God can use it. Don't worry about what you can do with it, because we don't have infinite imagination. We just see things as they are. But I want us to start thinking about how we walk by faith and not by sight, not looking at what's in our hands, but giving what's in our hands so that God can use it. So what's in your hands? Is your hands open? Are you giving freely? And you know that by giving freely, abundance and prosperity shall come forth to you. I know that for a fact. The word tells us that that's how it works. You get even more by giving. 25 says, a generous person will prosper. Whoever refreshes others will be refreshed. And so this goes back to us just standing in what God has called us to do. The person who is generous is going to prosper. And I want us to think about everything we give, not grudgingly, not waking up and saying, oh God, I got to do this again today, but really thinking about what God has called us to do and loving on the people that God has called us to serve, and thinking about this purpose as something that we have been blessed to steward. And because we are blessed to steward this, we wake up with joy every morning about how God is going to use us. What are you going to do today, God? How are you going to bless somebody through me again today, God? And that's the position that we want to find ourselves in. If you are currently in a job and you hate your job, I know what that feels like. I've been in jobs that I hated before, and you wake up on Monday morning, you're like, oh God. In fact, it starts from Sunday night when you start to think about, oh my gosh, we got to go to work on Monday. That's not what our purpose is like. Our purpose is the exact opposite of that. Our purpose is every single day we are joyful and we're excited, and we can't wait to figure out what God is going to do next. And so I want us to stand in that posture of just being so wide open, giving freely to everybody and anybody who comes into our path as it pertains to our purpose. I don't want us to be giving places where we're not called to give, because that's just going to lead us to frustration and discontent, and we're going to end up in a place of lack, and we're going to look back and say, well, I gave. Well, that's not what God called us to give. God is calling us to give from our excess, from our overflow. Stay in the Word. Study to show yourself approved so that you can pour out. And when you're pouring out the overflow. Think about your purpose and think about what you are giving. Think about how you can give even more, because the more you give, the more God will fill you up. If you are in a situation where you're hoarding the gift, there's no room to get any more. And what I want for us is to get up-leveled. I want for us that every time we pour out what God has given us, we grow and we expand, and our territory expands, and we get to the level that God has truly called us to. We do not know what God has in store for us. We're sitting here today and we have a vision for one thing, but God is not one-dimensional. God could take us to the stratosphere. And so what I want us to do is to give so that God can continually pour into us, and that we will learn to walk according to His will, according to His way, and let go of stuff. Don't hold on to anything. Let it go so that God can use it. So He can use it, He can multiply, He can divide it, and He can send it out into the world. I want you to remember that you were entrusted, equipped, and empowered for your purpose. God bless you, and I'll see you in the next video.